Hello friends, it's Pixie. I'm so glad you could join me today. Welcome back to my home, to my art desk. Before I get into what I wanted to talk about today, I just want to start this video by saying thanks to my patrons. I usually say thank you to my patrons at the end of a video, but I recently am going through a minor life crisis. It's not major, it's minor, so don't worry too much. But it caused me to be extremely worried about my future within capitalism as long as it still stands. So I made a post on my social medias being like, hey, you can support me on Patreon, I would really appreciate it. And that stuff. And I got a few new patrons, and it really relieved some of the anxiety that I feel about how my bad health prevents me from being very employable. And at the same time, I have some trouble with receiving the help I need. I'm not going to get into too much of the details here, but I just wanted to acknowledge that and just say a massive thank you to everyone who is a patron, but especially right now, it really means a lot to have you guys. So I really appreciate it. So about what I'm drawing here, I recently wanted to fill some sketchbooks that had been sitting like half full for a while, because I just needed that dopamine hit of having completed something. Finishing things is just so satisfying, and finishing a sketchbook is one of my favorite feelings. So I got to drawing more in sketchbooks again, and getting back to drawing just a bunch of stuff on a page without thinking about, should this be a sticker? What can I make out of this? And just drawing a lot for the sake of drawing. And I mean, even though it was for the sake of wanting to finish a sketchbook, in that moment it was just about the drawing. And it reminded me just how much I love to just draw. And also working so much in sketchbooks, because as the years have gone on, I have started working more on like loose sheets of paper and canvases and stuff. When I started out drawing, I drew almost exclusively in sketchbooks. And a sketchbook to me is just a safe place where I can just do whatever, and it's just a really comfy, nice place to be. I don't know how else to word it. And I got it into my head that I wanted to make some more intricate sketchbook spreads, because my sketchbooks are mostly very messy and very doodly and scribbly and kind of ugly. Like if you search sketchbook pages on Pinterest or whatever, you're gonna get these really beautiful, elaborate spreads. And I don't do that often, but I really wanted to do like a pretty sketchbook spread, like something that looked nice, just in a sketchbook for the sake of sketchbooking. So that's what I wanted to do with this drawing painting session you are watching. So I went on unsplash.com, which, if you don't know, is a site where photographers post photos and you're allowed to use them for anything. And so they're like free, licensed. I'm not sure which exact license they fall under, but basically they're free to use, unlike Pinterest, where you'll see a lot of images that are copyrighted and stuff like that. So I went on Unsplash and I looked on some of my collections of saved photos, and I also just looked at the homepage and drew just whatever element caught my attention, and I ended up with this very varied spread of stuff. It was a really fun time. It's something I really recommend doing. So I wanted to talk today about why I love to draw so much. I think that it's something that's like on an evolutionary level in every human, really. And the reason I say that is because of a fact of human evolution, that our brains developed because we started making tools and we needed language, so we developed language, and the tool making and the inventing language caused our brains to become increasingly more complex. So creating things is very essential to the human being as a species. In my view, like that's how I interpret that historical fact. So I think that creating things is a need that we all have. I think that might also be the reason that we feel satisfied when we make something, or when we like complete a project, or we do a job well. We get that hit of dopamine that I was talking about with like finishing sketchbooks. I think we feel that way because being creative, like banging rocks together to make an axe, is our evolutionary advantage. Our brains is what has given us any advantage over any other species. So that's why I think that creativity is innate to all humans. So that's part of it. I'm gonna get more personal too, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that aspect of it, because I think it's important, and I also just think human evolution is really fascinating, and it's just really cool to think about. I've made a little mini scene about it, actually. I think I may have shown that on the channel before. I probably have, because I'm quite proud of it. I like it. It's in my Etsy shop if you're interested, link in description. But also you can read for free the article by Friedrich Engels, The Role of Labor in the Transition from Ape to Man, where he says a lot of stuff that have since been over and over again proven correct, and it's super cool. Anyway, my personal relationship with the drawing is that it is something that I control in a sense. Like, this thing didn't exist, and then I took some actions, and now a thing exists. And that's really satisfying. I think that might go back to evolution as well. But also, like, why do I draw? Why do I draw when some other people don't? And I think the crass fact of that is that I was encouraged to do it. I was encouraged to draw when I was a kid. And I mean, yeah, then I did stop when my first depression hit at age 12, but I picked it up again, and I have received support from people around me. Not from everyone, and I feel like pretty much not at all from society in general, but I have been allowed to create art. People have said to me, you have permission to create art and be self-indulgent and have fun. So that has allowed me to explore this form of creativity that I am really grateful for. And it's a shame that most people don't have that. I think creativity is something that we all need to express in one way or another. I also really like drawing because I can get that sense of satisfaction over completing something a little quicker than I could when I was mostly writing. I mean, art takes a lot of time, and patience is still something that I need to work on when it comes to creating. But a writing project often took me a lot longer than creating a painting does. And that's one aspect of it that I really, really like. Another aspect of art that's really cool is that you can create anything. Like anything you can imagine, you can create. And this can also be a bit almost stifling because it's so overwhelming. Like, what do you do when you can do anything? That's something I struggle with quite a bit, because I have so many different things that I want to make, and only 24 hours in a day and very limited energy. And it can be really just too much, almost. But that's also part of why it's so exciting and fun. It's almost like I never know what I might do. And another thing that I really love is how challenging it is to learn different creative skills. Like, it's hard to draw in some ways. At the same time, I think it's not as hard as we think it is, in the sense that if you sit down and you try to draw a person, it might not look great according to your standards, but it's probably gonna read as a person, you know? So I don't want me saying drawing is hard to deter you from picking up a pen and drawing something, because I absolutely think you should be doing that right now. Because it's fun. It's just really, really fun. But the challenging aspect of it, like learning human anatomy, or learning perspective, or figuring out color theory, and all these things, they are challenges. And I love that because it's really fun to learn new things and sort of stimulate your brain. And learning new things opens up new possibilities as well, which goes back to like how you can do anything, that kind of thing. I don't know, I've sometimes thought of it in terms of video games. In some parts, you'll grind where you just have to kill a bunch of the same enemies, which could be like drawing a lot of bad hands, for example. Hands notoriously hard to draw. And then you get to a boss, whatever that is, and struggle with it, die a bunch of times. But then when you beat the boss, it's just immensely satisfying and feels just so good and makes you excited to keep going. Even if you know that like sooner or later you're gonna hit the next grind part, the journey is really rewarding and you meet some cool monsters. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone who isn't me. My boyfriend who plays video games wasn't completely sold on the analogy. Let me know what you think of it. I think it kind of works. Like, challenges are rewarding. And art is like a weird challenge because you can't like defeat an art challenge the same way you can defeat a boss in a video game. So like in that way, it doesn't really work because you can always learn a new thing and you can always improve at whatever it is you want to do. So there's like endless potential for learning new things. And I really love that because I think I would be bored otherwise. Like if I was ever satisfied, I would stop. Like there would just be no point, you know? The journey would be over. And as cheesy as it's gonna sound, the journey is the goal. So I don't know. I just really love drawing. And I hope I have somewhat explained why. I hope that this gave you something, some entertainment or inspiration to pick up a pen, maybe. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. It was really nice to chat. Let me know what you thought of my elaborate sketchbook spread down below. I think it looks pretty cute. Could have gone with more contrast maybe, but you know, some sketchbook spreads turn out better than others. That's just the whole thing of a sketchbook. So I'm gonna thank my patrons once again. Thank you so much for supporting me on this journey and just helping me continue it. It truly means the world to me. Thank you so much. Until I see you next time, I think you should take care of yourself, drink water, wash your hands, and organize. Goodbye.